shall we get to the shit?
Oh, shit!
The shit! Ah, yes.
Ah, yes. The shit. Let's get to the shit.
You know who it is, what's going on, when it's happening, where it's at, and why we're here today. How you doing? It is I, the sublimely magnificent, big ugly himself, Omari Feo Grande on YouTube, back with another podcast where we share, experiences from our life, pop culture, whether it's anime, movies, or otherwise, this guy hasn't seen. And as usual, I am joined by my co-host, one of my best friends in the whole world, El Director himself, Bill Smith.
Hello, sir. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yes, that's right. This guy hasn't seen, where we trade things back and forth. And this week, I'm the one who has seen what the other guy hasn't. And this week we are doing, since it's October, it's Halloween season, it's spooky times, I decided to go with something from my youth, which in rewatching was not too spooky, even though that's technically the theme. Tales from the Hood.
Tales from the Hood is a 1995 movie, rated R. A funeral director tells 4 strange tales of horror to 3 drug dealers he traps in his place of business. It is starring Clarence Williams III and then a bunch of other people, because as the description says, it's 4 stories.
Yes.
There's a word for that. I don't remember it.
Would it be a
But it
pulp?
would be mostly starring
like
Clarence Williams III.
Would it be like a pulp story? Like with the definition that they put at the beginning of Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, I feel like there's another word that describes like separate story.
Yeah.
The stories would be vignettes, and then the entire thing would be a blah blah blah.
Gotcha. As opposed to what Pulp Fiction did. I see. Yes.
Right, because Pulp Fiction is more describing a genre, just kind of a genre.
Gotcha.
Of things.
Yeah. So this is something. It's got Clarence Williams. It's got Sam Monroe. The other 3 main characters are Sam Monroe, Joe Torre, and the third one,
DeAndre
Bonds. That's right. Yeah, this is something that I saw a lot in my youth, and I saw it came out in 1995, as Bill stated, and that's around the time that I saw it. I was too young to be watching this movie, which is probably why it left a different impression on me than it probably would have as an adult. And other ways that how I saw it, I mean, but seriously, I had like older family members, siblings, cousins, one or the other. They were watching it and they're like, hey, you want to watch this too? Cool. Certain lines, especially the final line, stuck always with me. I always remembered that little delivery because Clarence Williams, as we'll get into, stands out a lot, and it's really hard to forget that man if you've seen this movie. So why hadn't you seen it, Bill, or had you heard of it?
I knew it existed. I mean, there's been a bunch of them. I can quickly try and scan on IMDb.
Yeah, I learned
there's
that.
At least 3 as I'm seeing right now, maybe 3.
Yeah,
maybe
I learned
3
that
is
today.
it.
I learned that literally today. I was today old, like this morning, when I found out, wait, they made more?
Yeah. So I knew of it being a thing. I am not really a horror seeker at all.
So same kind of like me.
It's got to have some other genres mixed in there usually for me to approach it, or be getting labeled as one of the best of its class, a cultural obsession kind of thing.
Yeah.
For me to go to it. And so this had never been part of like anybody around me's Halloween staple at any point. I had not gotten to see this one.
Okay, that makes sense. So, since you had heard of it and knew a little bit of its existence, even though you weren't necessarily seeking it out because horror genre and stuff, what exactly
Right.
were you expecting getting into this?
Well, I took it from the title, Tales from the Hood. I had watched Tales from the Crypt when I was a kid.
All right.
And that was about as far as my horror had kind of used to go. And so I knew about that genre, or I knew about that, and I was kind of expecting the same of almost exactly what I got. I was wondering if it would either, I didn't know, because Tales from the Crypt, oddly, when they got their shot at a movie, did not do vignettes. They did a singular story across feature length.
That is crazy.
Still had
that's what
it
they
still
did.
had the Crypt Keeper bookending them, but it was like a feature length story kind of. And so I was like, well, it could do that still, where somebody bookends it, but I was expecting either that or multiple stories.
All right.
I don't know if I ever sought this out. It's 1995, so probably not. I thought this was later than 1995 before seeing it, before searching it on whatever streaming platform I ended up watching it on. Peacock. It's on Peacock for anybody who's watching this and hasn't seen it. So I didn't. I assumed that it was later, and I also thought it was produced up by Snoop Dogg.
I could see that. Maybe some of the later ones.
Which, yeah, maybe he appears in one of the later ones.
He also has one like where he's like Jimmy Bones or something like that is a character where it is a horror movie that involves Snoop Dogg and maybe also produced by Snoop Dogg. So you might have got those mixed together.
Yeah, I was thinking it was either. I was thinking it had Snoop Dogg in it, and potentially even like a Snoop Dogg production kind of thing. Like this is presented by Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Maybe Snoop Dogg is even the Tales from guy.
Yeah.
Like he's the bookender. These are the thoughts that are kind of running through my head.
Gotcha. And me, I'd seen it, but I was expecting like a semi-nostalgic experience. Not truly nostalgic, because it's not like I was like, oh boy, Tales from the Hood. But I was like, I'm going to be looking forward to some parts. And like, it'll likely not be great, but hopefully it's solid enough. That's what I was thinking going into it. So, we'll get right into it with the initial reaction. So you start up the movie. What were some things you were,
Well, I'm pulling it up right now because I was actually this may be my best note-taking venture of the entire series.
Oh.
I have 4 notes.
Nice.
So this is my initial reactions in real time. Spike Lee again? Exclamation point.
Yeah, right? I was like 40 Acres and a Mule production. Wait, Spike Lee had something to do with this?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's another executive producer.
I don't know. Are they technically Spike Lee joints?
It's not. It's
It's only a Spike Lee joint if he's directed it.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
He's executive producer of it. It was 40 Acres and a Mule presents a insert director here, insert the production or the producer's name thing, and then this guy film. And so I'm like, okay. And then it's later I saw in the credits, executive producer. I'm like, oh, okay. That's where Spike Lee came in.
And then obviously pretty early on, I have the note of love the guy in the beret, which ends up being DeAndre Bonds. And I only continue to love him. Like he's probably my favorite of the gangsters.
Yeah.
In the main series.
I can give you that.
And then I have this mortician, ellipses.
I have the shit ellipses. Yes, the shit. And then I'm gonna say it right now. Clarence Williams makes this movie for me. The Mortician.
Yeah,
Clarence Williams
he's
III.
great.
He makes this
great.
movie. This movie lives and dies on that man for me. Like he turns this into the classic that it is for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I might end up being a little bit more positive than you are.
Well,
okay,
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying he's definitely I feel like without him, it's completely different. It doesn't he helps bring you back into it because I got
it.
I got you.
Yeah, he's powerful. He's powerful in this movie. Boy, man, he is putting in the work. He is putting in the work.
The drugs.
Every single time he is putting in the work. I hope he didn't have to do a ton of takes.
All right.
Because my goodness, the energy that man puts into delivering 5 words is
he's so
and spoiler alert, Omari's gonna choose him for the role thing, as you all can see from his side of the screen.
I
don't know what side he's on today.
I'm gonna be honest.
I don't know what side he's on today, but you can see.
Yeah, I'm on your right. Like if you were to point at me, point to your right. Yes. All right. Yes. Yes, before this movie even started, there were things I had typed, like as standout moments. I had put the last moment, the climax, I had put that down. I had put role I would play. I'm like, even though he's irreplaceable, that one would definitely be one.
Yeah.
Because, God, as a kid, that performance always stuck with
me. No, I feel like I thought about it at throughout the course of the movie at some point of like whatever the sauce is that made Omari Ellis, Pete, sometimes referred to on the other show, Feo Grande, as you might know him, Big Ugly himself, Gio Tavi on some social medias, whatever that sauce is,
he had to have played a part.
There is, he is some spice. He is some spice in that sauce.
He had to have played. He had to have been an ingredient.
He might even be one of the vegetables. He might be like a root.
That's
like
what I'm saying. Like one of those hindsight things. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this guy is one of my inspirations right up there. Because with the way that I do things and stuff, I'm just like, oh man, this guy.
Yeah.
So you could see it just like I could.
I felt it.
Yeah, so that I agree with you. Like with that opening, just all right, and just from the get-go, just the second he opens the door, like they open the door and he like shows up just oh god. I'm like, yeah, there it is.
And then my final note of my note taking comes several minutes into our first tale, and it's is this not going to be fun?
Right? We opened with fucking police brutality, and I was like, and we opened with police brutality. Like, I remembered that was one of the stories. I didn't remember the order of the stories. I knew the last one involved what it involved.
So dark that that's my last note. Oh, is this not going to be fun? And then he was never seen again.
If that's the last thing people found that you wrote. Yeah. So is this not going to be fun? Like, oh no.
And then I just stopped there.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and get into the plot / standout moments and shit. But yeah, so we're getting to the story. So it's the premise is these drug
first story is mistitled. I don't remember what the title is anymore, but it should be titled Cop Killer.
Cop Killer, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's the best. That's just such the great. As soon as they said that, in the sanitarium at the end of the story. It was like, man, it's a crazy cop killer. I was like, oh, that's the name of the segment. That's gotta be. That's fucking perfect.
Exactly.
And then it's just some like it's like 5 words or something. It's
and the framing. Just so the framing of it, without going into too much detail, because as we mentioned, we realized like these things have been going long.
Right. Yeah,
framing,
we want to tighten them up a little bit.
Yeah, the framing device though, just for the 4 stories, is the three gangsters show up to a mortuary or funeral home because apparently the mortician has some drugs that they often refer to like 99% of the time as the shit. You got the shit?
Yeah, man, the shit.
Where's
you got the shit?
Oh, I got the shit. Yes. Oh, you'll be knee deep in the shit. That guy. But so they and on their way throughout, he tells them like the shit's in the basement or he's gonna lead them to it. But on the way, he keeps finding like random bodies and he's like, oh, but you're gonna want to hear about this one. And then he'll tell a story about why that casket is there.
Yep.
And the first one is a guy, he's like, oh, this is Clarence. And we get into the police brutality story where guy, again, not too much detail, but just general premise. I'm sorry. Like Clarence is the character. He was a rookie cop hanging with 3 white cops who found a mayor trying to stop dirty cops. They kill him, and then they have to deal with the consequences because he like haunts Clarence and tells him to like lead the cops there, and now he's a zombie and he kills them all. And then Clarence gets called crazy and put into prison for it. Any standout moments from that story for you? How about that? We'll do like a standout moment or 2 from the story, or anything stand out to you from that.
So yeah, I was thinking about through most of that story, I was like, oh, okay, this isn't going to be fun.
It definitely doesn't start fun. Playing strange fruit during the brutality itself.
This is hard to watch. Like, everything up until the ghost story part of it is really hard to watch.
If I'm honest with you, the brutality thing, I had that same thought go through my head. Oh, is this not going to be fun? Because in my head, Clarence Williams stood out so much, I thought it was more of a funny thing, you know? But I'm like, damn, this is heavy as an adult.
Yeah, and I don't want to misquote it or anything, but I feel like in retrospect, because I've watched so many different YouTube videos and listened to so many different podcasts, so I'm not 100%, and I'm not really sure where I could source it, but I feel like I have the memory of Jordan Peele referencing this movie as a inspiration point and a favorite of his in horror genre, and then this story in particular as one. And I feel like if that's true, it makes sense on his career moving forward. Or maybe that's just me applying that narrative completely in, but I feel like that's the end. So that's what I was kind of thinking about in the beginning. I was like, this is gonna be, are all these stories gonna be like this? And up until the ghost story part of it, it's pretty hard to watch, and because I'm not sure if this is going to be one where we're going to get our revenge, or if Clarence is just going to be haunted. Yeah,
I was surprised with the whole cross thing. He's like, bring them to me. Like, why is he on a cross? Bring them to me. Like, why are you Jesus? I guess it's not so much Jesus so much as he's a martyr.
Yeah, there were several times that there is only one singular director listed, because a lot of times these vignettes are done by different people, but the first one definitely liked its crucifixion iconography, so that was
such
interesting.
A good word that never gets used enough. Iconography. I like that. But yes, the
But other
artistic
than that,
decision.
not a whole lot of crazy standout moments. I think everybody does their job very well. I think sometimes a little bit
Strom, the most racist, was a little bit too stereotypically racist.
yeah, he was a little over the top sometimes, and then I think also the demon version of the deceased lawyer is I don't love
the zombie, like the makeup for him.
Yeah, well, I don't love his whole. I don't know. I don't know if it hits me well. His whole choice of zombie, or the director's choice of zombie and ghoul, and the guttural howling with the audio effects over the top of them, and I don't know. It just doesn't hit me that great. But I think also everybody that we didn't mention does their job really well, and for it's not gonna look like the most beautiful movie in the world. Like, they're probably using the equivalent of what Tales from the Crypt TV show is using around this time, maybe a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it's done really well using those tools.
Sure.
Like, they're clearly not using the greatest cameras in the world, but everything is shot very well.
I'll agree. Yeah, I did think it was funny because I noticed some dummies that they were using for some of the stunts.
Yeah, it's there's I mean, but you know,
it's a bit more obvious now as an adult, especially since this one does have an HD version.
Right. These are the things, like in SD, you probably could never have noticed that was a mannequin inside of those cars during the car crash scene and those kind of things.
Or standing on the top of the car when it exploded with his
right. So many things suffer from us getting SD transitions to them, and nobody wants to pay the money to like go in and fix those things with a bunch of new digital effects.
But it was still solid.
Yeah.
And then we get our second story.
Absolutely.
The second one was with the kid, right? And the monster?
Correct. Yeah, we have 2 in living color cameos.
Right. We have David Allen Greer,
and then I'm searching for the other person. I apologize for that.
Was it the mom?
It was the nurse.
The nurse, okay.
She was she's so little. I'm struggling to find her name in the cast list right now.
I noticed that the kid's mom was like Paula J. something Parker or something like that. She's been in a lot of black stuff. There's a lot of people that have been in a lot of African American or black films in this, but I had recognized her, and I'm like, damn, she was in all this other shit. Apparently, she's from Parker or Proud Family, so I thought that was cool. The kid's mom.
No, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. The second story done very well, completely 100% predictable.
Yeah.
Like the second you learn all of the main beats, about 3 minutes into the story, you can plot out the rest of the story. You're surprised that it's David Allen Greer.
Right? That would be like...
You're surprised and David Allen Greer does a great job being horrible.
To be fair, you know how you were asking me, you're like, I don't know if you can play the bad guy and all of this. That's the vibe I got from David Allen Greer just playing this character, is like if I were to play that character. Not saying I would be as great as David Allen Greer, but it would definitely be that kind of shock to people who know me, just like it was when you directed me doing a scene like that where I was an abusive father.
Another thing I don't remember.
That you don't remember, but I do.
I agree. It happened, and I'm a great director, and that's why you were great in that.
Yes, and people are like, holy
that's
shit.
why you call me L director before every episode, even though I haven't directed a single thing.
Hey, that's the
in a
nickname.
very long time.
That's the nickname you chose for yourself.
Because we had to have nicknames, and I didn't know. Like, what was that going to be? Billy the Kid?
I mean, technically.
I never really had a nickname because Bill is already kind of a nickname.
And the closest thing was the Kid.
Yeah.
That's why I said, I mean, technically you were. But yeah, El Director, it made sense. But
anyways, so, but yeah, other than that,
there are people, I think Jazz is one of them, and other people who have told me the climax of that part where the kid's, dealing with the monster.
Yeah.
That actually did traumatize a lot of kids who were watching the movie when they shouldn't have been. That scene and the climax of the third story.
David Alan Grier crumple and stuff.
Yeah, and all that shit. And same thing with the climax of the third story, which we'll get to. That also traumatized a lot of people. Holy shit, nah, that was crazy. Especially if you're way too young to be watching this movie.
Right. For real.
But
yeah, kudos to David Alan Grier. Kudos to the teacher. I think they both do a good job. Again, it clearly not using, and this isn't a slight to anybody involved. It was probably based on the budget, but they're using it's kind of TV level equipment. Clearly, you look at the freeze frames of trailers or of the on IMDb, and it's just it's a lower quality camera, but they're shooting them very well, and they all look really good. And you don't really. It doesn't matter very quickly, if not immediately.
Yeah, I'll agree.
And a lot of practical effects that work really well.
Yeah, it adds more of a charm to it than a detriment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
For sure.
Yeah. So that's the second story. Any other things standing out from the second story for you?
I think we hit it all. I mean, the kid does fine.
Yeah.
He's not asked to do much. It's a quiet.
I think that kid ended up in a lot of shit too when he was a kid, if not as an adult as well. I didn't look up the kid's name, but I'm pretty sure I recognize that kid from a lot of shit of my past.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll go third story. We have a former KKK member who became a mayor. And decided to buy a house that used to be owned by a slave owner. That then was, when reparations happened, owned by a black lady who urban legend says, took the souls of the slaves and fallen and put them into dolls. Inward dolls.
Because this is a particularly, we are told this is a particularly bad plantation.
Yes.
This is a plantation where the second that the owner found out that the slaves were freed,
didn't he murder a bunch of them? Yeah.
Massacred them all.
Yeah.
Everybody that was a doll
was a former massacred slave killed by that guy.
On the day that they were freed.
Yeah, and while they're announcing it, there's literally one of those guys outside the house. Oh, you better watch out, because the souls will get him.
That guy. He's 100 yards away from the house, and they barely have a window open. And both of the two of them in that room hear that man. They were like, that guy's crazy. And I was like, he can hear that guy? And then the other guy is like, ignore that guy. He talks about that shit all the time, blah, 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 blah. How can you hear him?
the souls will get you. You're going to work in the reparations at the dollhouse. They're going to come after you. And there's a painting of the lady with all her dolls and stuff. And there's the whole rumor that
painted directly onto the wall.
Yeah,
and then
painted
framed
directly on the wall. And as it goes on, it turns out it's not just an urban legend. The dolls are real. And as they come to life, one of the dolls in the picture disappears from the painting. And then suddenly the doll's moving around. And as he's dealing with this doll, more dolls start disappearing from the painting. And he's like, what the hell? And then when all the dolls are gone, I'm sitting there oh, that's not good. You want the guy to get his comeuppance because he is a former KKK member that is still racist, trying to run on I thought we were moving past racism campaign, despite the fact that everybody knows he's a former KKK member.
Right. This is Corbin Burnson, who you might know from Major League. Or Major League 2.
Yeah. Actually, he did look familiar. Now I can put that together. Yeah.
He actually has second billing right under Clarence.
Oh. Well, he probably on a mainstream
No, I never watched it, but if you're a fan of Psych.
Oh.
I know a bunch of people are Psych heads out there. And I know he was a big part of Psych. He was like Psych's dad or something like that.
I did not realize that, but given lifestyle choices being different, I would have been a bigger Psych head. Like senior year of high school, I feel is when Psych came out, and college I stopped watching Psych as much. But during senior year, or during like that first season of Psych, I was being a Psych head. And then because I was into CSI at the time, and Psych was CSI but funny, and I'm like, okay, this is awesome. And then I went to college, and what I did with my free time turned completely different. So I fell out of the Psych fandom. Not that I hate the show, I just wasn't as big as I could have been into Psych. But that's cool that he was in Psych as well. But yeah,
so yeah, that's the third story, and it's ridiculous, but awesome. I mean, it's kind of like a like a puppet master kind of deal, I guess.
And with the climaxes happening,
vibe
and the
I can
dolls
think
are
of.
like tearing them apart and stuff. Like Jesus. And again, they used a lot of good effects. I saw a random trivia thing because I was watching it on Amazon Prime, and I had to pause it. And one of the trivia things was like, one of the dolls in the scene when it bites him has blood on his face, but then doesn't have any blood on it in any of the subsequent shots. I'm like, who gives a fuck? It was a cool like. Why
it also by the end had completely rematerialized almost 3/4 of its body.
Yeah.
Like. Okay, so it can make blood disappear too.
Yeah.
The mystical doll.
Exactly. And then she disappears from the photo, just rocking in a chair, watching them.
Oh my god, that's the fucking that killed me. I died on my couch yesterday watching this movie with that woman phased out of the painting and phased into real life, just watching that old the racist ass dude get torn to shreds by dolls.
Like there was a lot of behind the curtain because his public image was he's reformed, I guess. Because they even asked him, he's like, we all made mistakes in the past, but no, he still was clearly racist. And he had like a mixed dude trying to tell him how to win over the black people despite his stuff. And the mixed dude was making racist jokes. And they're like, what about this? He's like, well, the only spooks I'm afraid of are the ones with guns. Oh, I'm gonna use that. No, don't use that. Damn, I've been hanging around you too much. No. I was like,
yeah, Roger Gwenvor Smith.
That's this light-skinned dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been in a bunch of black stuff too, and probably mainstream stuff as well.
He's like too good looking. He's like too defined.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like he's been in stuff, but never like a major to my knowledge. I can't name like a go-to part. He just very familiar because.
And he also looks super tall. Super tall dudes. You got to be like if 1 in a million is you're making it shot. If you're over 6'2", it's like a 1 in trillion. Like
which is
you
crazy,
have to be.
I figure that would be like a guarantee because chicks like the tall dudes.
Well, no,
but
because
then you have
most
short people like allegedly short people like Tom Cruise, who's in everything.
Well, the average height for a female is like 6'8", and it looks. The average, like a 6'3" person or a 5'8" person framed in camera looks really weird in a lot of different shots.
Female is 5'8", is 5'8", not 6'8",
or 5'6" is what I meant to say.
Yeah, you said 6'8".
Oh, okay.
For what?
Yeah.
Are you talking about what they prefer?
But no, yeah. So it's just it makes shots really weird, and so you gotta be short.
That does make sense.
The shorter, the better, but just not too short.
Damn, so that's, well, yeah, he's a rapper. He's not an actor. Anyway, so yeah, the fourth story is where they're downstairs. The gangsters are getting like pissed the fuck off because they just want the shit, and he keeps telling them he's gonna give them the shit. Oh yes, we're gonna get the shit. Let's go to the shit right now. Like Jesus Christ. They go downstairs, or right before they go downstairs, they see one more coffin, and they're like, "Hey, is this a fucking joke?" And you're like, oh, I don't know what you mean. Why would it be a joke? And they're like, turns out the fourth story involves like a dude who got killed, his name was Crazy K as a gangster. And he starts off the story literally seeing some dude on the street that pissed him off, driving up and shooting him, just shooting him.
It was a weird, that was a little bit of an odd story, because I wish it would have ended the real way instead of it being like a blip of him imagining things before he dies.
Well, I feel like because he made the decision,
it kind of deflates the whole horror story part of that tale.
I think it's because he made the decision where she kept saying it's not too late. Because he kept saying I don't give a fuck, I'm not changing, it snapped him back. Like, rather than him living and being rehabilitated, I think that was what they were saying. I think that's the supernatural aspect of it that I just kind of put together now, or earlier today. Because she's like, no, come on, man, no, you don't have to do this. Stop, it's not too late. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. And eventually you see her resign, like, I tried. Like, that's the look on her face. She's like, well, that's what you're saying. And suddenly all the shit around, all the imagery around him disappears. And then he's not choking anybody. And then he snaps back to on the ground where the three gangsters are still alive. And then apparently they die anyway, the three gangsters that shoot him, which, spoiler, surprise, surprise, and it's not really that surprising because they didn't hide it that much with the lighting. The three dudes that shoot him in his story are the three gangsters at the funeral home.
Right.
And they're like, you know that's the motherfucker we killed. Why the fuck you showing it to us? Then you gonna give us the shit or not? And he's like, okay. And goes downstairs, and Beret dude is like, yo, I don't like this. Like, they're like, whatever, man, we almost got it. And so when they finally go through, he's like, it's in the coffins. And they each go to a coffin, and when they open it up, each coffin is the respective gangster opening the coffin, and they're like, what the fuck is this? When they're like, he's like, oh, this is real, it's all real. They're like, what the fuck? Oh yeah, this is real. And he's like, y'all died after killing that motherfucker. They're like, but if this is real, why are we in some crazy funeral home with you? And then the line that stuck with me since I was a kid, also, before I get to that line, when they were shooting him, or when they got shot, there was like this heavily operatic kind of music playing. I Mandela affected myself throughout my life because I forgot where I had heard this song. Much like with the 1492 thing in Bamboozled, I Mandelaed myself into thinking that was from like a game with like Yoshi, like it was a song from like one of the Yoshi games. Okay. And I was like, wait, that was from this? I literally Mandelaed myself because I've asked friends who are bigger Yoshi fans than me what game had that song over the years, and they're like, it don't sound like no Yoshi song I've ever heard. I know it was. I'm well aware. I got distinct memories of playing one of those games and that song playing. What more than likely happened is the song was stuck in my head. People were playing the game, and I was making up words to it involving Yoshi because they were playing a Yoshi game. And then years go by, memories meld together. Right. But that was one standout thing for me. Like, God fucking damn it, that's where it was from. Or all the things I don't know the source of being, it was from some black movie you saw when you were a kid. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that seems to be the conclusion that I'm coming to. But yes, it gets to the climax. The other thing that I remembered from this movie, actually remembering it from this movie, why are we in this fucking funeral home with you? This ain't no funeral home. It ain't the Terror Dome, not either. Welcome to hell, motherfuckers. And then he turns into the fucking devil. There's random like people burning around him, and an effect that as an adult I could not do anything but laugh at. While they had the fire, the like 95 CG fire on the screen, and them pretending to be getting burned by it.
Every one of them had a different way to be on fire. Like one of them literally was just going.
I think that was the beret, like.
Yeah, he was just shoulder dancing.
Like it's a dance now to do that, and that's what he was doing. Just while another guy was. It was great, but that I always will remember the ain't no funeral. I said it with them when the movie played. I did it because I watched it this morning. I said it with them because it was just me at the house. I'm like, I lost this line. It's also where I think that's also what taught me that neither was another way you could say the word neither. Considering I was like 9 or 10 when the movie came out. So, or when I saw it, I was 9 or 10. So yeah, that's the movie, and obviously that last part was a standout moment for me. That's the one that I wrote "Welcome to Hell" before I even started watching the movie. Under my standout, under my standout moments notes, I'm like, "Welcome to Hell," because if it's something I can remember 30 years later or however many years later, not 30 years later, Jesus, but a long time later. Yes, that's the epitome of a standout moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so obviously we spoiled it already, and I even agreed what role I would most like playing, even though he's irreplaceable. Clarence Williams' role. Also, I'd be cool with either like Crazy K or David Alan Grier as the monster, because just a contrast to what people expect out of me. They don't expect those kind of roles, so I would like doing something like that to just show range.
Yep.
But as far as the most Omari roles, like that's what I would want to do, is the Clarence Williams. I wouldn't be able to perfectly emulate him, but damn it, I would do my best to do that role justice in my head.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
How about you?
I think,
there's not a lot of, based off of our previous movies, but like, there's not a lot of appetizing roles for you. But
right.
Still.
Well, if like, it's one thing for me in the great grand scheme of should this character be one race or another, is the character itself inherently, because of what the character is, a specific race.
Yes.
And there are some roles I think here that could go, like the second story is really just a story.
Yeah, that can be anybody.
The entire piece is not really hood specific.
Yeah.
You can say that you're speaking to like absentee fathers a lot. Mm-hmm. But that's that's also going to happen everywhere. Bad boyfriends show up with single moms everywhere. You're looking at 2 children of divorce. We've seen boyfriends come and go. Yeah. That can be anybody, and so I would say in that case, I'm really looking at the teacher's role for that one. That's kind of that's like one of. That
can be anything.
Yeah, I think that's one of my wheelhouses as an actor.
I mean, technically, the gangsters don't have to be black either.
No, not at all. I mean, it's racist to say that they do have to be.
Well, I'm saying, given like
I'm saying just saying if the character description is only gangster, then fair. Absolutely no. They can only they can be any skin color.
Yes, gangsters in general, obviously, but it was more like those specific characters. Because Crazy K, based on his story, had to be, because it was the whole idea of killing your own kind. And
right,
him
yeah,
doing
his
that.
story was about that. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Like, the main gangsters didn't have to be. Crazy K does, because that's the whole point of the character. Is like, because he comes across a racist in and of himself while he's in prison. That's like, I kill N-words for breakfast and stuff. I got tattooed that says N-word killer. I do all this shit. And then he's like, what, does that make you mad? All those motherfuckers you killed. What color were they? And then later, like, when they're showing him a montage, they're like, what's the problem? You don't like seeing black people get killed? That's what you did. So that's what, like, his character needed to be. Obviously, the mayor needed to be white, because aside from Dave Chappelle in a comedy thing, black KKK members not common enough.
absolutely. And as we addressed in Bamboozled, I don't think I'm ready for that part.
That's what I said. That's why I was like, based on our previous things, there's not a lot of appetizing roles for you, but that's why I was phrasing it like that.
Yeah. I mean, really, like so. As always, and I'll refresh anybody who happens to make it this far. Of my thoughts when this topic comes up, my thinking is we're obviously, Omari and I aren't saying that we are going to jump into these films. And Omari's not saying take out Clarence William III. Like, it's kind of like,
I literally kept saying, though he's unreplaceable.
Yeah. It's like, imagine if this was, especially since most of our work is on the stage, like, imagine if this movie was turned into, imagine if this movie was one of the community theater type of scripts that gets passed around in cycles, and you know, a theater company will do once every 15 years kind of thing. What part are you gunning for? Yeah. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it in my head usually when we have these discussions. And I'm going to this audition, and especially if I have the opportunity to read the story or watch this movie beforehand and know that it was based on this, I'm gunning for the teacher role, and really that's the only thing that I think I could do.
Gotcha. Fair. Yeah, I look at it with it depends on the film. Some films I look at it with the community stage theater lens, like if I were to do that. But obviously with the aspirations to be on film and stuff, I also look like, let's say in this world where they keep remaking shit, if I were to audition to be in this film, what role would I like to audition or play for? Yeah. That's also how I'm looking at it. Like, I'm not talking about, oh, you put me in there, I do better than him. Except for, like, maybe one or two roles that we mentioned in the 13 things where I'm like, where we agreed, like, this guy didn't do good.
Yeah.
I would want that role. I feel like I could at least pull it off, if not better. But that's
it reminds me of something
rare.
I gotta ask of you off air.
Okay. Yeah.
Aha. Sorry, Omaricans. You're not there yet.
Not yet. But we love you anyway. So yeah, I think that's nice and succinct. Final thoughts on the movie.
I loved it.
All right.
I really enjoyed it. I had a great time. There's a couple of moments highlighting racism that are really hard to watch, but that's because they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And you know, because racism is not fun, and it's not a fun topic.
It'd be an issue if it was. I really liked it when that dude said,
you know who my favorite character was? No, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was, I kind of was thinking, I was kind of half thinking I was going to enjoy it anyway, but I enjoyed it because I think it's good. I think it's well made. I think everybody in there does a great job. None of the stories are super groundbreaking, but they're telling a good story, and I enjoyed myself a lot.
Nice. I'm happy that you did. Like I said, I enjoyed the film overall, and pretty much what I was expecting is what I got. the semi-nostalgic feel, the new lens being an adult, much like with Bamboozled, help make certain things, the weight of them hit as hard as they were supposed to. And just being able to notice more things that I didn't when I was a kid, positive or negative. I was like, is this the same? You know, because nostalgia is a hard thing to compare something to. That's why I was like that. But at the end of the day, like I said, the semi-nostalgic, not necessarily like, oh, this is a great film, blah blah blah. At the same time, it's a solid enough movie that I would recommend to other people to watch, and that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted out of it, and that's what I got. And yeah, I would recommend it going forward.
Yep, it's probably now on my Halloween rotation, like every 5 years or so.
Nice. I can see that.
I'll throw this in there.
But for me, part of like what helps wrap it all together for me be like the glue that holds the movie together. Maybe not he makes the film, but he's definitely the glue for me. It's Clarence Williams III.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
Which, to be fair, because it's like a Tales from the Crypt thing, and he's the Crypt Keeper role, he kinda needs to be that role. Whoever's playing it needs to be that. They need to be the standout. Because
right, yeah, absolutely. But he does an incredible job.
Yes.
He does an incredible job.
I had to stop Jazz on a recent episode of Whatever We Want where he was bringing up the movie, and because something else Clarence Williams did, and he started talking about the climax of the movie, and I'm like, Jazz, stop. I might want to recommend this. I'm not sure if he hasn't watched it, but I know Bill watches the show. I don't want you to talk about the ending of the movie on the show.
That's funny.
But yeah, so
we
yeah,
don't talk about that show here.
yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Every time.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Just and vice versa.
You're still on my list.
Can't wait till he actually sees that.
I've forgotten about you.
But yes, if you want to see
peek behind the curtain, we're a week ahead. We're a week ahead. So you're not gonna you're probably gonna see this right about the same time you see the other one. So
yeah. But
I'm watching you.
Yeah, so speaking of other stuff that we do on the internet, as Bill kind of dropped earlier, I do have other videos on this channel, the Feo Grande channel. I am also elsewhere on YouTube with the Whatever We Want podcast, new episodes every week, every Wednesday, just like we have new episodes of this every week, every Tuesday. I have Twitter and Twitch, that is Giotavi, Giotavi. Come on in, stop on by. It's October, my favorite month of the year, and I'm playing through
Spooky season.
Usually, but I mainly because I'm self-absorbed and my birthday is this month. So October's my favorite month of the year, and last year I did it. This year I have even more reason to do it. I'm playing through my favorite series, God of War, and so I call it like Giotabi of War month. That's what I'm mainly streaming, and with God of War Ragnarok coming out in November, it's perfect to go through all the games of the series leading right into that.
Boom.
So yeah, come in and check it out. Been doing it at night times because my work schedule changed as opposed to last year. Yeah, and Bill, anything you do, anywhere people can find you, anybody you want to shout out, anything like that?
No.
All right. Well, guys, thank you.
What are we gonna watch next week?
Oh shit, that's a good question.
Well, it's my time to decide, and we are going to keep the spooky train running. See, I was like, do I go? I've seen a couple of horror films. I got a couple of horror films on the list. Spoilers. I've got a list, and it's a great list, audience. We're gonna see some, man. We're gonna see some bangers here in the next couple of months. But I was struggling to be like, do I go like really hardcore serious horror film, or do I go something light and fun? And I'm not gonna reveal what
type it
I
is.
chose. But the name of the film is Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and we're going to be watching that next week. Come back and see us.
All right, looking forward to it. It'll be even closer to Halloween at that point. So, like I say, it makes even more sense for us to continue with the spooky season. But yes,
yeah, this is our spooky 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Last 2 weeks, soak it up. We neither of us do much horror.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. We'll see you next time. Adiosness.